Hello and welcome to this new Android development tutorial. This is how to make a calendar application for Android. This is the first part of the tutorial, and so let's begin. So first we will open our Android Studio IDE and then we will click on Start a new Android Studio project. We will click on Empty Activity, then on Next, and we will change the application name to calendar. Okay, make sure the selected language is Java, and the minimum API level we can go as low as 14, I think. Of course we can change these later, right? Now, depending on the Android Studio version you're running, you may or may not have these two options here. If you have the use Android X artifacts, please check it. If you don't have, you don't have to worry about it, right? Okay, so this is basically a more clean way of accessing the Android API, so it's recommended to use, right? So after we set the name to calendar, the language to Java, the minimum API level to 14, and in the case you have it, we will check the Android X artifacts. Then we will click on finish and we will wait for the IDE to set up our project, to load it, and to also set up the IDE. So basically what we will do here is we will use a widget that the Android API makes available to us, which is called the calendar view widget. We can use it from XML or from Java, right? So what we will do first is we will declare that calendar view an XML, and then we will access that from Java. We will override a method that will enable us to know when the user selects a day on the calendar, and we can start coding from there. So right now I'm waiting for the project to be loaded, so this happens only the first time. So as you can see down here at the bottom, we have a message that says two processes running. And as you can see here, we can see how everything is being set up by the IDE. Now it's one process running, and it's about to complete in a couple of seconds, right? Okay, indexing resources, and now it's completed. Okay, so now as default the IDE generates a couple of files for us, some code too. So the file that I'm currently focusing is the main activity.java file, which is the activity itself, right? But we also have our activity main.xml, which by default Android uses constraint layout. So we don't really need that constraint layout because we need something simpler for this. Simpler, cleaner, and smaller in size. So we will change it to a linear layout. To change it, we will go to the left side, and under the rest folder, we will go under the layout folder, and we will right click on the activity main.xml, and we will click on delete, right? If you have these boxes checked, please uncheck them and click in OK. Right, so now the IDE is deleting the file, so we will wait for it to update the changes. So once it has deleted the file, we will go again to our layout folder, we will right click on it, we will go to new and layout resource file, okay? And as the file name, we will write the same name it was before, which is activity main, right? And make sure that in root element you have linear layout. Then we click on OK, and we will wait for the IDE to generate this file, as you can see right here. And now, as you can see, this is a lot cleaner, simpler, and way easier to understand. We can change between text and design if we want to, but we can also go into text and enable the preview mode right here, as you can see. Okay, so I'll be running this application on an emulator. So to test that everything's working fine, I will start the emulator. You can do that too by going to the run menu right here, run, and then select the device. So this one is my physical device, which I won't be using. So actually, to avoid confusion, I won't be using this device. I will use an emulator in order for you to see what I'm doing, right? So you click on one emulator if you have it, or just create a new virtual device and click in OK. Now the first time the emulator runs, it will take some time for it to boot and be set up on the system, but then afterwards it's a lot faster, right? So right now the emulator is being loaded right here, so this black screen on the left side is where the emulator will appear eventually when it's finished loading. So basically what we will do here is we will change the code of our application and then send that updated code to the emulator. So we can check it right here on our screen. As you can see, it is already booting up, but as you can see, this is the Google logo. And this emulator is running Android 9, which is Android Pie. So at the moment of recording this video, which is Pie, is the latest version of Android, right? So now we will wait for the emulator to complete loading, and we will hopefully see our application running on it. So it's always a good recommendation to keep the application running. Otherwise, maybe we run into errors. So the soonest we spot those errors, the best and the easier it is to solve them. Okay, so the emulator is ready and the app is there. As you can see, it says calendar, right? So it's working. It has nothing, but actually it's working. The emulator is working, which is awesome, of course. Okay, so if we go back to the IDE, we can start doing changes on our code, and we can continue on this case. Well, something that we may want to do is to have a more clean view of this application would be to delete this title calendar, and even if possible to hide this top bar in order for us to have a more clean environment to work with, right? So yeah, basically that's it. So now I'm back on the Android Studio IDE, and what I'll do is I'll hide the title bar, which is the bar that contains the title. In this case is calendar. To hide the title bar, we will do the following. So we'll go under the res folder at the left, and we will go under the values folder, and we will open styles.xml. Okay, so here inside this style element that the IDE auto-generated for us, we will write a new item. So we're going to say item, and we will say window node title, and we'll set this to true. Okay, and then we will also set it to be full screen. So we're going to say an item name window full screen, and we also will set this to true, right? So after we've done this, I will run the application again and check if it works or not. Okay, so now it's compiling and building the APK file, and now it is installing. Now we can switch to the emulator to see, and everything is blank, a kind of a whole white square or rectangle, right? Which is exactly what we want. So right now what we will do is we will go to our activity main.xml right here, and we will create our actual calendar view. So we will open an element and we will type calendar view. The width of this will be set to match parent, and the height will be set to wrap content. Okay, and as you can see here in the preview, we can see actually a calendar right here, okay, which is occupying the whole width of the device and using wrap content as the height. Okay, which is awesome. But we want to test if it works on the emulator, so I will compile and run the app and send it to the emulator. And as you can see, here it is. Here is our calendar, and I actually can browse through it. I can click on the days, I can change the months, okay, which is pretty useful, right? So that's kind of a simple way to build a basic calendar, but we want to add more features to this. So this was so easy that, but it's not very useful otherwise, because we wanted to kind of know the activities of each day, and that we have to do it by ourselves, right? So Android actually helps us a lot, given this cool calendar, which we just type a couple of lines and it's ready. But now we will continue doing some features. Okay, so we will assign an ID to the calendar view. So we're going to say ID, and I will call it calendar view, right? Okay, so we have our ID. So what we will use this ID for? Well, we will use this ID to access the calendar view from the Java code. So we'll switch to our main activity.java file, and inside the onCreate method we will do and type the following. We'll type calendar view, and we'll set this to, we will name it calendar view, and we will assign this to find view by ID r.id.calendar view. So right now we are accessing the calendar view we created on the previous step. So this r.id.calendar view is the element or the object that we created here on the activity main.xml file, right? So basically here is, now we have access to our calendar, right? So if we press Control and then click on calendar view, on this one right here, the calendar view class is opened, so we can understand in a more detailed way how this works, right? But we can also get some information without opening the class. We can say something like, for example, calendar view dot, and the IDE will suggest us the available methods that we can call inside this calendar view class. For example, it says set maximum date, set minimum date, and set date. So we can use all of these methods. Okay, so what the first method we will use will be the set on date change listener. Okay, so we say calendar view that set on date change listener, which basically will enable us to know when the user touches on a different date, for example, different day or something. So we can do the logic accordingly for that. So inside the parentheses of this method call, we're gonna write new on date change listener on date change listener, and we will click on enter, and the IDE will generate this code for you. And basically, as you can see right here, this listener overrides the onSelected date change method, which has three parameters. The first being the calendar view, the next being the year, the month, and the day of the month. So this method will be called when the user interacts with the calendar, right? So basically, let's kind of understand how this method works. So we'll go back to our activity main.xml file, and before the calendar view, we will create a text view, right? Text view, the width of these will be much parent, and the height will be something like 40 dp. Okay, this is more a design kind of thing, so you can do it 30, 50, 60, whatever you want. And we will set this ID, and we will call this text view selected day, for example, right? So if we call it select day, what we will be outputting to these, selected day, what we will be outputting to this text view will be the current day that was selected, right? So we have the selected day right there, and now we can go back to our main activity.java. And before we set the onDate change listener, we're gonna access the text view that we just created. To do that, we're gonna say text view. Remember to import the text view class, and we'll call it we can call it selected day. Selected day. Okay, let's just call it selected day for simplicity purposes. And we will assign this to find view by ID r.id that selected day, right? Okay, now when this method is called, we want to update the selected day of the text view. Okay, so to do that, we're gonna say selected day dot, so the IDE auto assign this a final modifier because we're accessing from an override method. So yeah, that's very handy. Actually, we have to do this. So selected day dot set text, okay, and we'll set it to day of month, but day of month is an integer and we have to pass a char sequence or a string, right? So to transform a integer to string, we'll do the following. We're going to say string dot value of, and we'll pass the integer we want to transform into string, to convert into string. So in this case, it's called day of month. Okay, now this line of code is basically saying set text to the current day of the month, but these will be called only when the calendar is updated. So when the user has touched the calendar, right? When the date has changed, right? So to have a better feeling on how this works, we will run the application right now. Okay, so right now I'm running the app, I'm installing it, and as you can see, here we have our calendar. Now if I click on a date right here, you can see that here at the top appears number 1. Maybe it's not that easy to see, so to make it easier, we will go to our activity main.xml, and here on text view, we will modify the aesthetics, or kind of the style, to make it more readable. So the first thing we're gonna do will be set the gravity to center, right? The next thing we're gonna do is to change the color. So to create a new color or to define a color, you can do it directly, but I recommend you using the color.xml file. So we'll go under the values folder and we'll open the colors.xml file. And inside these, you can see that the IDE auto-generated 3 colors, but we'll create a new one. So you're gonna open an item and gonna type color, and this name we will set it to black, okay? And now we will say number sign, and we will type 6 zeros. Okay, so this is the RGB mode of defining it in hex. So the first 2 digits means red, the second one means green, and the third 2 digits, the third couple of digits means is about blue. So RGB, red, green, blue. And if they are 0, then it's black. So that's how we define black. And now instead of typing 0, 0, 0, 0 again, we go and only type inside our activity main.xml. We're gonna say, of course, inside the text view item, we're gonna say text color, and we will write black, actually color/black, right? So when we do this, we can now, we will be able to read it easily, right? So now I'm running the app again to check if it worked or not. Okay, so here we are on the emulator, and I will click here, and as you can see, as I'm clicking, the number up here on our text view is being updated. So 1, 2, 3, etc. and so on. Even if I change the month, and I can keep changing and getting the current day, right? But so that's how we know that we are actually doing the right thing, right? We have to make sure. Okay, so basically, if we go back to our main activity.java file, then here we are actually controlling the calendar, because we know when the user clicks on a different day and even on a different month. So we can, instead of doing set text these, we're gonna say double quote, and we can say selected day. Okay, and to concatenate these, we will put a plus here and says a string value of day of month. Right, and now when we concatenate these, we have say this says do not concatenate display text, because this is kind of a bad practice, but we can apply one of the options that we have here by the IDE. For example, we can use the string builder. Okay, so we can use kind of a string builder, append select day, and append all of that, right? And here we have it says string builder can be replaced with a string, and as you can see, the IDE is a bit crazy right now. So when the thing is that when you concatenate, this plus auto converts this integer into a string. So when we concatenate, we don't need to call string that value of. We can just say select a day and then plus day of month, right? So we want to show a space between these, so we're gonna put an extra space here, and now we will run it again to check if it looks okay, right? So right now I'm running it again, and as you can see, I'll click on one of them and it says select the day 3, 4, 5, depending on what I select, right? So that's great. Now we want to also access the month. So to access the month, we're gonna go to activity main.xml, and we'll create a new text view right here. So I'm gonna say text view, the width will be set also to match parent, the height will be set again to 40 dp, because that's the same we used previously in this case. The gravity will be again set to center, and the text color will be set to black. Okay, and we also have to assign this object an ID. So the ID of these will be selected month, maybe because the previous one was called selected day, so it's nice to call this just selected month. So now we have to access that again from our Java file. So after we set the selected day text view, you're gonna say final, so basically the same, text view selected month, and we'll set these to find view by ID, are the ID that selected month, right? Okay, now we will go inside the onSelected day change method, and we will say selected month that set text, and we'll do the same we did with selected day. So we're gonna go and type double quote selected month, and we will set these to colon space plus month, right? Okay, so now that we have set this, we have to run the application to check if it's working as we expect. So I'm compiling it and I'm running it on the emulator. I switch to the emulator, and if I click in a different date, I can see that when I change, the day changes, but the month doesn't. Now, if I go here, I have April 3, March is 2, February is 1, and of course January is 0, because remember, in computer science we start counting from 0. Of course we can change this to 1 if you want, by adding the ones to month. But for now we will just leave it there, right? Of course we want to also know the year, right? So we're gonna go again to our activity main.xml file, and we will create a text view for the selected year, right? So we're gonna say text view width match parent height 40 dp, okay? And here we're gonna basically do the same. Gravity will be set to center. Text color will be set to black, and the ID will be set to selected year. Okay, after we've done this, we can go to our main activity.java and assign or access that text view from code. So as you know, we will do the same we did previously. So we're gonna say final text view selected year find view by ID r.id that selected year. Okay, and we will also go again inside the onSelected date change, and here we're gonna set selected year dot set text, and we're gonna say selected year, and we will set it plus year, right? So this is basically, oops, sorry, I was about to convert it to Kotlin, but I didn't want to do that. So this is basically how we access a calendar. So if we run this now, let's check if it's working or not. So I'm running it now. Of course, this emulator is a bit stretched in order for you to see what's going on, so you maybe have to use different lengths, if maybe not. It really depends. So as you can see, we have selected day, selected month, selected year. Here we have to add a colon and space. So let me do that right here. So colon, space, and year. So running it again, because remember, aesthetics are kind of very important. So if we click here, we can see that we have month is 4, and if we go back to 2018, and if we click, the date is changed as well, right? Which is awesome. So we can also drag this. Okay, so I'm dragging this. You can click on these, and you can click on the days too. So right now we are able to use this right here. Now if we want to explore the other parameter we receive, we can say view, which in this is called view, and here we're gonna say kind of a get date. We can access some stuff right here, like saying get first day of the week, get max date, get mean date, get weekday appearance, set date appearance, and so on, right? For example, if we say get date, let's see what we expect along here. Let's do a quick hack right here. So we're gonna say selected year, even though it's redundant and stupid. This is just a test. So we're gonna say set text to view dot get date, which returns it as long. So we have to transform this to a string. So string that value of, okay, view that get date. Okay, so let's check what it does, right? So how it displays that thing. Okay, if I click on one of this, as you can see, this long number is displayed right here, which is kind of difficult to understand because it's not in an easy format. I don't even know what this is for, right? So maybe it's kind of expressed in seconds or something in a way that it's not him readable. Okay, so for now we won't be using that. That was just a quick test. But now we will delete that last line and we will run it again to check that everything keeps working as we want. So yeah, it is still working as we want. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy it and I see you in the next one. Bye.